Okay. By the way, we hear you. We hear you. Tony Smith, I hear you.
What?
And trust me, we agree. We need a new open to the show.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally everyone has been saying it,
But
except for the people who can actually do it, because none of us know how to actually do it.
right,
Like,
we're going to have to figure out how to do that because look, we don't get posted on social media. We don't get
I
any of
know
the
this.
stuff the other shows get. So we're going to have to figure out how to do it ourselves.
Yeah, I guess so. And I'm not sure
Woe
that's going to happen.
us, by the way. What's that all about?
I know, right? I know. Welcome to Borderline with Bernie. I'm Jeff. Thank you so much for tuning in again this week. And I was thinking about this. Actually, we had a really awesome discussion going. Like, from now on, as soon as you log in, we should just hit record because some of our best
Probably.
stuff.
Yeah.
Some of our best stuff is when we first log on
Yeah.
and say hi to each other and just jump
Well,
in.
we don't see, like you were just saying, like normally, well, for the past 5 months, we would record and then we'd see each other in a couple of days.
Yeah.
Well, now we haven't seen each other. Like we'll record, and so it's like it's our time to catch up. But yeah, we're just talking about all kinds of nonsense while we catch up. Yeah,
it is so weird though. It's like that's how much we are together and have been together over the last 5 months, that we go a week, God forbid, without seeing each other. And I feel like I haven't seen you in a month.
Man, it's been crazy. How you been? Everything okay?
Everything's good.
By the way,
I'm already. I feel like I've got a new life. Like I'm back into real estate. I'm back into college football. I got a game this Saturday. It's like it's like a totally different life all of a sudden.
Yeah. By the way, one of the great things about moving to the beach, and I may have said this last week. Did I say this last week about how great the Weather Channel is once you live in like hurricane water?
Yeah,
it's like, oh my God, I love it so much. Like, let's talk about Louis. Let's talk about Lee for a week and a half before it gets here. I'm all about it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. All right, we've got so much to talk about. I mean, obviously, our spirits and our moods are so happy right now. Like, how great is it to have football back on TV? Like, if there's any way we could get like football and cornhole to be together, I'm not sure what would happen to me. I'd be so giddy. Yes. By the way, congratulations, huge win.
Hey man, they tried to give it away. They tried to North Carolina that thing in the fourth quarter, but South Carolina's just not very good.
No, they didn't look.
Either that was their worst, that was their bottom, or they're just not very good. So.
By the way, did you do your on, off, and in?
I didn't. Because it's
yeah. I literally remembered like 15 minutes before because the reason I ask is because part of my on, off, and in kind of has to do with you guys in North Carolina.
So, I mean, I could do it. I could do one right off the top of my head, kind of, but I mean, it wouldn't have anything to do with cornhole because we're kind of.
We'll get to it later. We can still do it.
Yeah,
I've got to do my power rankings too because
do you still have power rankings? No.
Did you do your power rankings?
The season's done.
No, but you got to do your final power rankings last week, and because you took so damn long, I couldn't give mine.
That's right. You got to do yours later. That's right.
So if you saved yours, we can quickly go through yours.
I'm sure I've got them. I'm sure I've got them somewhere.
And I'll get mine.
They're just not right next to me.
All right, so much to get to. Let's just start with college football a little bit because considering some of the feedback we got at.
By the way, sheriff deputy just walked by. Hope they're not here for me.
I know you're looking at the pool. Did they walk into the pool or?
No, they're walking they walked right by the window. They're getting escorted to someone's apartment.
Oh boy, someone getting served.
Drama. Someone is getting something. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
All right, so let's start with a little bit of football because it kind of relates to. I don't want to turn everybody off because I'm sure there'll be some people who watch it who are like, "Why are they talking about football? This is on the ACL."
Yeah, too bad.
I think it relates. Plus, we got a lot of feedback down in Spencer McKinsey's, Eddie Grindersley being one, that they like when we kind of talk about other sports and then bring that back to cornhole. So I'm just going to bring this up and say this. And I realize that a lot of you are not going to care about this, but I do have a point. So, and I think I texted you this. So Iowa football, right?
Yeah.
Again, it kind of goes to my point about offense, right? I mean, offense is what is so important out there in every sport. Whether it's Major League Baseball or whether it's the NFL that we're about ready to all enjoy this upcoming weekend, or whether it's college football. It's exciting, right? I mean, like that Clemson game the other night. Oh my God, it was 7-6 forever. It was like a snooze fest, right? I mean, it was. I mean,
Was it? Did you watch it?
I
All the
did.
turnovers inside the 10-yard line. I mean, that wasn't a snooze fest. They were moving up and down the field. Both teams just were freaking out. That was a weird game.
I thought
That wasn't
the
two
second quarter was
teams.
pretty awful.
Yeah, that wasn't two teams stuck between the 30s, not going anywhere. That was two teams going up and down the field, and then a fumble inside the 10 or a killer penalty inside the red. I mean, it was weird. It was a super weird game. I
thought it was like the analogy that we've given before. It wasn't a great book. It was a good book, but it had a great ending.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Sure.
Yeah. So, but anyway, but scoring the back and forth game like the Colorado game. I mean, come on. I mean, that was incredible, right? And the ratings were huge for a lot of these high offensive games. So Iowa, right? So Iowa was ranked in the top 25 coming into week 1, right? And
yep.
Iowa plays Utah State. I get it. Utah State's not a Power 5 team, but still a win is a win, and Iowa wins it. However, the way that they win it is brutal. I mean, it's just run left, run right, run up the middle on 3rd and 11. Like I'm sitting there and I'm predicting the plays, right? It's 3rd and 11. And I'm like, watch this, Kathy. I'm like, it's gonna be a 5-yard out. Now I was wrong. It wasn't a 5-yard out. It was a 4-yard out. But still, you get my point.
I got you.
And the penalty. I mean, it was just an ugly game, and it's just not fun to watch.
It's Iowa football.
Despite the fact that Iowa wins by double digits in week 1, beats a team that they should. They're in the top 25.
Yep.
What happens? They get dumped from the top 25 this week. Absolutely dumped from the top 25. And again, it has to. My brother and I were texting about it. Everyone sees it. No one likes to watch it, and the ratings are terrible. I mean, people still go to Iowa games, and the stadium is still packed because there's nothing else to do in Iowa. Trust me, I grew up there. There's nothing else to do. That's why it's packed, and it was a beautiful Saturday. But again, offense sells, and I would just quickly say this too: the new SID for football at Coastal Carolina. He and I have obviously been talking this week with our first home game on Saturday. And he said, by the way, dude, he's like, I was rewatching one of your events, and he said, man, it was so exciting to watch. And he said, I love the young players. I love how good they are. He's like, boy, these guys can really throw it in the hole. And that's what he likes to see. He's like, when he's like, they can hit like what, 30 bags in a row. I'm like, don't say anything. Don't say anything. And I'm like, yes, they can. And again, it goes back to what I've been saying. The offensive part of the game, please, out there, players, don't forget about that. People watching at home love that. Now Daryl and I did talk about, Daryl's the SID, his name. We did talk about the fact that you could lay a block. And then he'd go and then he'd say, yeah, he'd put that block, and then he'd go after and get it and bring that one in too. So that is an exciting shot. But let's not forget about that. Let's not make the board so dirty that you have to come up with this just extremely crazy shot to try and score. Like you can do a little bit of defense, but still score, still hit the bags in. This is what people love watching. They're mesmerized by it. And I know to some it seems boring, but the stats now show that offense wins. And man, sorry, I'm just rambling. I mean, I've got some real thoughts about DPR.
Hold on. I've been wanting to talk to you about this, and it does. You have to be able to fill it up at times.
Yeah.
Football analogy. I'll use North Carolina as a perfect case subject. One of the best offenses in the country, not debatable, right? Maybe not this year because they've changed offensive coordinators, but in the past 2 years, one of the best offenses in the country, not really debatable. Horrific defensive football team.
Yeah.
Can't win games, especially can't win games against really, really good teams. You have to be able to play defense at some point. And in our game, cornhole, you have to be able to do the same thing, because if you look at what's happened, the trend over the last couple of years, you don't see those guys that don't play that game in the top 10. You don't. You see different types of players. You see players that can do a multitude of things. You don't see certain types of players there anymore that just fill it up. They're not there. They're guys that can do that, but they're guys that also can play different levels. And so I agree with what you're saying. Offense sells tickets. It does. It's sexy. It sells tickets. But you can't win unless you have a varied thing to your. Even the Kansas City Chiefs, at their best, play good defense.
Good, not great. I think a better
Good
example,
enough.
like we've said before, is Tom Brady. The New England Patriots,
at their best.
and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had good defenses while Tom Brady was there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I get it.
I mean, you got to be able to play. You can't just get locked in that you have to have off. Look, would Iowa be a top 10 football team if they could score 30 points a game? Absolutely. They'd probably be a playoff team, right? So they've got to bring some. Look, Wisconsin went and got North Carolina's offensive coordinator because they were tired of the Big Ten off tackle, 38 dive, 30, like they were tired of it. And so something had to change because in that conference, you don't have a lot of spread much. You have some. I mean, it's kind of filtering in, but you have to be varied. You can't do the same thing over and over and over again. I think you see it in every sport. You have to be able to do different things to be successful.
What I want to see is that's why I said, I mean, I love, and again, Darryl even said it, the fact that they can lay one in front of the hole and still go after and get it. That's what I want to see. I want to see a realistic defensive play that you can also still score. And this goes back to something that Trey and I talked when this game first started to evolve, and we first started to see this trend a couple years ago. I said to Trey, it's one thing to block, it's another thing to be able to score off of it.
100%.
And that's all I'm saying. Like I just don't want to say, and I've said it a million times, I don't want to see players start washing out at 5s, washing out at 6s, washing out at 3s. I mean, in some of the matchups we saw in California in the finals, I mean, some of these rounds 7-5, 6-6, 5-4. I mean, that's I don't like it. I don't like it. And I'm just fearful. I'm just fearful of it because I love the sport, and these players are capable of being great. And that's what people want to see.
Cornhole people don't get it. And this is going to offend all of them. They want to watch the game that they love.
Yeah.
They're not concerned about the average sports fan. They don't get that without the average sports fan, your sport kind of stays where it is. No one makes more money. It just kind of becomes exactly what it is now or the last 3 years. They don't get it. And they refuse to admit that that's the case.
And you know what a cautionary tale is? You know what a huge cautionary tale is that we all know and we all used to love and we all grew up with? And they refused to pivot for decades and now finally have, but it may be too late.
What's that?
Major League Baseball.
Oh, 100%. Well, yeah. I mean, they allowed
Bernie, I mean, come on. You can't possibly argue this. Baseball has refused, right? Refused to make any changes, any pivots whatsoever for years. For years. And now finally they have, but is it too late? It might be.
I mean, they, coming out of the strike in '94, they allowed steroid ball, right? Yeah. To say that they didn't allow it would be a lie. They allowed it. They knew it, right? So they, that helped, brought people back. It brought people to the TV screens to watch guys hit 80 home runs, or, obviously 60, 70 home runs, which seemed like something that could never happen for decades. And then not average players, but, not Hall of Famers were doing it, put it that way.
Right.
Right. And so they tried, but I don't watch baseball anymore. I watched it as a kid. I don't watch it anymore. It just doesn't.
Pretty darn slow. Yeah, it's pretty darn.
I mean, they're trying to speed it up. It's a terrible TV product, and I think it's always been a terrible TV product. Just when you and I were growing up, when sports were on TV, you went to it, right?
Yeah.
It was different for us, so it was such a big deal. But I don't know. I'm with you. Baseball.
If they had pivoted years ago and captured us, if they had pivoted a decade ago and captured us, back in the 2005 to 2010 range, I think they would have captured us and kept us, but they refused to do it. They let the shift go on for way too long. And it just killed it. It absolutely killed it.
To your point, they also lost greatness because you always talk about people want to watch greatness, right?
Yeah.
New York Yankees, when they were so dominant, the ratings were up. And people hate to hear that, and they hate the Yankees. But when they were winning all those world championships, if you like late 90s, early 2000s, the ratings were huge for baseball, a lot bigger than they are now.
Mm-hmm.
And when that went away, and it seemed like every other year it was a different team in the World Series, that's cool if you're a hardcore baseball fan, right? Get to see different, cities have their moment in the sun. But the average sports fan like me is like, yeah, boring.
No, I get it.
I watched the World Series for a little bit, but boring. Just didn't do it for me. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I like your point. People love greatness. They either love it or they love to hate it. New England Patriots, another perfect example. People love it or they love to hate it, but they watch.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to make my skin crawl. Duke basketball.
Yeah.
The most loved and hated at the exact same time.
They're great. I mean, they're truly. It's a great program. It's a championship program. I mean,
makes my skin crawl.
You're right. And I will watch. And I will watch them.
I will pull so hard for Clemson playing against Duke in basketball. You know what I mean? I'm pulling for Clemson.
Has Clemson won at North Carolina yet? By the way,
yes.
Isn't that like one of the longest streaks?
They've won one. Yes, they did a couple years ago. Yeah, right in the COVID era, I think. That group that made the Final Four a couple years ago also was the first group to ever lose to Clemson.
Oh my gosh! Okay.
Yeah. So good for them.
Well, you know what? Lose to Clemson, make it to the Final Four. I think you'll make the trade-off. Yeah. Hey, real quick, speaking of offense, you'll appreciate this, and a lot of diehard football fans out there will appreciate this. This Saturday, I've got Coastal Carolina at home against Jacksonville State, and I know not a big, sexy game that a lot of you are going to watch. However, do you know who the head football coach at Jacksonville State is now? Yeah, I mean, you probably don't.
I don't. I know they're the other Gamecock.
I shouldn't have said that to you because that setting you up to fail because no one's going to know this.
Yeah.
Rich Rodriguez.
Really?
Yes, he's making a comeback. So Rodriguez was, of course, at West Virginia, at Michigan, at Arizona, and then all kinds of issues on and off the field with him. So he had to go away for a while. He emerged as an offensive coordinator a few years ago in the Sun Belt with Louisiana Monroe when Terry Bowden was the coach. Went away again, and now he's back as the head coach of Jacksonville State. And again, the reason why I bring this up is because this kind of plays into what we're talking about, this offensive theme. Sure. I mean, Rich Rodriguez is widely considered by pretty much everyone in the sport of college football, whether you like him or not. He is the author of the RPO. I mean, he was doing this. I read a great story about it going into the broadcast this week, but he single-handedly is basically the mastermind behind the spread offense, but not the spread offense like the West Coast offense.
Yeah, your RPO.
The run-oriented RPO spread offense, with the two-way quarterback out of the shotgun. And so, I mean, when you watch Jacksonville State play, I watched their first two games on tape this week. They're really good. They're not big. I mean, if Coastal's not careful, they can lose this game. They're super fast, but the way that they run this offense, they run it perfectly. They got a great quarterback for it, but it's exciting to watch. Again, that's why I bring it up because Rich Rodriguez's offense is exciting to watch, and I'm really looking forward to doing the game on Saturday and watching him.
That's a perfect program for him, but guess why he failed at Michigan? Yeah. They couldn't stop anybody. They were horrible. They were soft.
Bad defense?
Yeah, they were terrible defensively. And they never came close to beating Ohio State. He got run out of town. Hey, they could score 30 points a game, but they were giving up 40 to Minnesota. You know what I mean? Like, it just didn't – you got to be able to do both. You have to be able to do both.
That's why I give it up to you. That's why I use the Tom Brady example all the time. I mean, we all talk about Tom Brady, but again, look at the defenses. They're pretty darn good.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing Rich Rodriguez. By the way, just a story behind that, and hopefully I'll get a chance to talk to him before Saturday. But apparently, this whole philosophy of the RPO, for those who are listening who maybe don't know, it's the run pass option. You see it all the time when you watch college football, even for those of you who are just kind of casual. So you got the quarterback, right? Let's say I'm the quarterback and Bernie's the running back. So you got the quarterback out of the shotgun. He takes the snap. So he's reading the defense. He's trying to decide if he's going to give it to Bernie to run one way, or if I'm going to keep it and run a different way. I mean, that's basically the foundation of it.
Reading the defensive end, essentially.
Yeah, you're reading the defense and deciding which way you want to go. So Rich, I read the story, and again, I got to make sure it's right before I talk about it on the air. But apparently, the job he had before West Virginia is kind of where he started to think about this, because there was a quarterback, and the play was to hand it off, right? Hand it off, go up the middle, is like a goal line play. And the quarterback instead of handing it off, kept it and scored, right? He comes to the sideline, and Rich Rodriguez is happy, obviously. He's like, why did you break off that play? He said, because I saw the defensive end zeroing in on the running back, and I knew if I kept it, I could get around him. And again, this is 25 years ago when no one's thinking about that. And that basically is what became the foundation for Rich Rodriguez, his offense, and now what we all know as the spread run-oriented RPO.
You know,
it's
it
great
works.
story.
It works. I mean, especially when you spread them out, it takes the linebackers out a little bit. It gives you holes naturally in the defense. I like it. It never works in the NFL. They try it. Because, well, bigger, stronger, faster, right?
Yes,
and
more disciplined.
Right, 100%. And you don't want to get your quarterback killed, because in that offense, sooner or later, you're going to get him killed in the NFL. And that's why like certain teams will do it every now. Like the Ravens still do it with Lamar Jackson. They'll run it from time to time, you know, because he's such a freak athlete. But they also know going to get hit. You know, those guys are crazy good on the other side, and you can't lose your quarterback in that league. Just can't do it.
Well, the big thing you have to have that every college coach says, and they have it at a higher level at the NFL, is containment. You have to have the mental discipline to contain, and that's so difficult for a young college kid because he wants to make a play, right? The defensive end wants to blow somebody out. He wants to blow somebody up. You know, a lot of times, and this was, I remember when I was coaching Derek, my son's football, because he played defensive end. It was so hard for me to coach him and the others. You know, sometimes you don't have to make the play. Contain. You win. You can win without hitting somebody. Right. What I want you to do is just immediately sprint to the outside, get to the outside, and contain the quarterback, force him up the middle. But I'm not hitting anybody. I get it. That's not your job. Your job is to get out there,
job to make the play. Yeah.
Create a wall, and let the guys up the middle. But the kids don't want to do that, right?
Right.
They want to hit somebody.
Yeah.
So
it's tough, man. It's tough. Because all those kids from the time they're little, right, to what got them to college is they chase ball, hit player hard, right?
Yeah.
Well, then all of a sudden you got to tell them, tell you what, if it goes the other side, you're staying.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You're staying right where you are until you have to run downfield and chase.
Yes.
You know, they're like, what?
I know. It's so difficult, just that mental discipline. So one more thing about football, and then we'll shift gears a little bit. Bad day for South Carolina. I know you wanted to say that.
I loved it. I loved every second of it. Sorry, South Carolina. Every school in South Carolina lost this weekend.
Yeah, I think so.
No, seriously. You saw the tweet, right? Every single school that played football this weekend in the state, even the Division III schools, everyone lost.
Yeah.
Who was it that had the tweet? Ryan
McGee. ESPN.
Ryan McGee. Worst day in South Carolina since Sherman. That was a great quote.
Last time they had lost this bad was to a guy named Sherman. Yeah.
That was
terrible. Awesome. But gosh, I mean, it wasn't just Clemson and South Carolina. Coastal Carolina lost.
Everybody.
Sakes, I think Presbyterian lost. I think Wofford and Furman.
North, Greenville, Erskine. Everybody. Everyone that played. It was crazy.
Yeah, like
you know what? What do you think? what do you honestly think about South Carolina and Clemson?
As far as their teams,
are they both that bad? Because South Carolina looked awful to me, seriously. And there's big athletes on that field, and they did not look good.
I thought, I don't think South Carolina is there yet. I think Shane Beamer's a really great guy.
It's amazing how much stuff he found.
He's been able to recruit.
Complain about,
He's been able to recruit, but they are not dominant at all.
I just feel bad for him because if we pushed him around, what's going to happen when they play Georgia?
Yeah,
right. Tennessee.
With Clemson, real quick, I thought Dabo said it best in the post game. He said, "Listen, you didn't watch a bad football team. You saw a bad result. It wasn't a bad football team. It was a bad result." And I agree with that because, like you mentioned earlier in the broadcast or in the podcast. They moved the football. They just 0 for 2 on a couple of short field goals, and then the two fumbles, one inside the 10, the other one at like the 1.
Yeah.
So they moved it. They moved it, but just not a bad football team, just a bad result. But God, you hate to lose week 1, man.
Yeah. It was fun for me because I was not expecting that at all, considering how bad the defense had been in the last 2 decades.
Yeah, I really thought it was going to be. I don't know, just because of the previous history. I figured, like you said, I thought North Carolina would find a way to lose
They were
the
trying.
game.
They were
Yeah,
trying. They were trying
because
their
that's normally what
hardest in the.
happens.
Yeah, they were. Look, they were trying to lose that game in the fourth quarter. Defense just stepped up. I mean,
Yeah,
which is literally haven't said that in seriously 2 decades since I had hair. Basically, what's the last time you said that? Defense
that's
played
when you
really.
had hair. Yeah,
Seriously.
I love those pictures, by the way.
Yeah, it's weird.
You with hair,
It's
sexy,
awesome.
sexy,
Yeah.
little sexy,
Well,
sexy
what
man.
happened? Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Um, real quick, I want to get your thoughts. Pivot to cornhole real quick, and then
Mhm.
and then maybe we'll get back to football to wrap up the show. But the new partner reveals.
Mhm.
So we were going to have Tanner and Jacob Trzynski on with us today. But then once we decided to do some reveals for ACL Live this week, we
Yep.
decided to kind of pivot that and bring on Tanner and JT
Was a good
to
one.
come on after Jamie and Frank. So two huge reveals. So I just want to get your thoughts on it. I really applaud Anthony Ione for challenging Jamie, because I remember when I obviously had to know. The great thing was, and this is true, and I almost blew it for Anthony. Anthony did not want to know who Jamie picked, so that was a literal true reaction by Anthony. If you haven't seen it, I don't know if you can go back and watch
Yeah.
ACL Live, but
Yeah.
you may want to watch just that part, because Anthony was shocked and he challenged Jamie on it when he found out that Jamie picked Frank, and we all love Frank. We all love and Anthony loves Frank, but he challenged Jamie. He's like, wait a second, you just chose a player who ranked basically 30 something in doubles and 40 something in singles, over a guy that you have won not one, not two, but multiple nationals with over the last 2 or 3 years. I mean, you guys have won at a very high level, and you really kind of questioned and challenged him.
I
Jamie
like.
had a really good answer about the chemistry he has with Frank and whatnot. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that one.
I've said this time and time again, and I've heard people like Anthony always say, "No, you're wrong." It's like those guys like to be with people they like.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that I always wondered about that pairing with Matt. Obviously, talent wise, it made a lot of sense, but it's just I don't know if they really vibe. You know what I mean? Like I don't. There's definitely not a kinship there. Now you're talking professionals; they should be able to get past that. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But when the game started to change, Matt wasn't really changing his game, and it's almost as if his game became a liability. I know that sounds crazy. And I know it does, but that sounds crazy. If his airmail game is not not at its zenith, they lose a lot of games because he doesn't adjust well because he's giving up points. He's giving up fives. He's not giving up twos. He's giving up fives in those kind of circumstances. So I think Jamie wanted someone that I don't know. And I think Jamie likes being the alpha. And I said it when he and Matt got together. I said, who's going to be the alpha there? Right? Because alphas don't do well together. In business, in any type of thing that you want to do in life, if you put two alphas together, it's usually trouble, right? And they did win because I think their talent, a couple of years ago when the game hadn't really fully evolved yet to what it is now, I think Matt could dominate still. I mean, he's still a top 20 player, right?
Yeah.
But to go from someone competing for number one to someone trying to stay in the top 20, that's a very different person. He's not trending in the right direction, put it that way. Who knows? Maybe he comes back next year. He's Matt Guy again. Whatever. Maybe that's
DJ, what I saw out of Matt Guy this year was someone who wasn't as sharp.
Invested.
Like if you're a one pitch guy, that pitch needs to be really good all
and it could
the
be a
time.
ton.
Right?
There were moments.
How many times did we see him miss on the first bag? And he would have a case of the lefts. And then oftentimes, how many times do we see him miss on that fourth bag? He just wasn't quite as sharp this past season as what we've seen in the past.
And I think that led to I think that was the impetus for the switch. And
well, if you watch the show, Bernie, I mean, believe it or not, I mean, yes, I think that has something to do with it. But Jamie was really emotional on his response to Anthony. Again, really, if you guys want to go watch it, it was ACL Live this week. Go back. I'm sure you can find it somewhere, Facebook, whatever. But Jamie talked about chemistry and about teammates.
100%.
And he wants to, it goes back to what you the first thing you said. They want to play with someone that they like. And he basically said, I mean, and again, don't take this the wrong way for those of you listening. Matt and Jamie get along just fine. I mean, they're friends.
Sure.
But they weren't as close as Jamie wanted them to be. Jamie wants to be able to talk to someone every day. Win, lose, or draw. He wants to be able to get on the phone, get together, have lunch, have coffee, have a beer, whatever, and talk shop, and talk about the sport. And he and Matt never had that relationship. A lot of that has to do with the fact they live 1,000 miles away from each other.
Sure.
But he really missed that camaraderie, I guess is probably the best word for it. He really didn't have that camaraderie with Matt, and he has that with Frank. So he feels like if he has that with someone, that's going to elevate both their play. So it's really, really interesting and emotional response.
But then flip that around to the other pairing that you had. That to me is a strange partnership. I hope it works because I like both guys a lot.
You're talking about Tanner and JT now?
Yes. I don't know, man.
That's Tanner's gone away. Tanner is going away from the camaraderie, going away from the friendship, going away from the dinners and the wives hanging out and the beers and all that because he has pivoted to someone who he wants to be there at the end, is what he said, and be able to finish the end.
But whose bag are they going to use? I mean, that's two contrasting styles in play. I mean, if they could be polar opposites in the way they play, right? I mean, that is curious.
Well, Tanner said that AAR is coming out with a whole different line of bags. They're going to be sending JT a mess of different bags, and between the two of them, they're going to figure out what they're most comfortable with. But to that point, that was another thing that Anthony said that was a great point. Is he said to Jamie Graham, he's like, Jamie, your game has evolved. Like you have multiple shots right now.
Yeah.
You're not throwing a game changer. There's no way that you're going to be able to manipulate the game changer the way that you are right now when it just has the patch and all the sides are still slick. Like you're not going to be able to do what you want to do. And Jamie just kind of smiled but apparently there's some tweaking going on in that. But again, that was another great point by Anthony. And I don't know either. But I did say if Mark Richards could learn how to roll a pro sniper, maybe Jamie can do something with the new generation of game changer. I don't know.
I think those players at that level could. I mean, can they do it consistently the way they can with a slow? Yeah, probably not the same way. I think the difference is Jamie's probably laughing, going, "I can do it, Anthony. You can't."
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, and that's not a shot at Anthony at all. Anthony's a hell of a player. I'm just saying that level can do things that other people can't.
Right.
And he, and to your point, a million years ago, Jamie still likes to fill it up, but he can do those other things.
Mm-hmm.
And, with a bag like that, if you're not going to do it all the time, then do you need a slower bag? I don't know. I can't play at that level, so I don't know how it affects.
If you want to try and hit a roll shot with a game changer with a patch on it, you know what? The only person to have on to see if that's possible is Frank. See if we can get
Frank hops all the time.
I'm not sure we get an honest answer out of Frank because it's his bag, obviously.
Yeah, he hops bags all the time. I don't know if it's a true roll, but he's got some sort of hop bag that he's got.
It is, yeah. A little jump bag, yeah.
Yeah, it lands completely flat on the board and hops over. That thing's great. Over, and it looks like he's throwing it slower than anyone in the world. Like, that can't do anything when it hits the board. Bang. Right? Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, but so anyway, well, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
What do you think? Because I think having someone you like helps when things aren't going well. Everything's easy when you're winning, right? Everything's super easy when everyone's playing well, everyone's winning. It gets hard when someone's not playing well, and usually having that person be a friend and someone you care about, maybe you can discuss things with, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe if you're too close to someone, you don't want to hurt their feelings, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I think it just depends on the people, but I don't know. I would rather want someone that I trusted as a player, and this is where it gets away from friendship, right? Like, maybe your friend isn't as good a player as player A, right? And then you want to be able to trust when that bag's coming back, you're not giving up points. You're probably getting points, and if nothing else, you're getting washes when it comes back, and then you can do what you want to do. I don't know. I think that obviously is
I
something
don't
that
know
Tanner
either.
looked into. And that, I mean, Easy's still a great player, but, you know, he did have his moments where he struggled, but they both did. I mean, Tanner finished in the 80s in singles. It's not like he was, you know, way up there in the top 20 like he normally is.
Oh yeah, he admitted that. Yeah, it wasn't a good year, by his standards for him. So he knows that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole team chemistry thing. At the end of the day, I mean, like you and I, right? I mean, we travel together, do a podcast together. I mean, for God's sakes, we shower together. Or well, sorry, we watch each other
That's
shower. Well, you
only
watch me shower. I didn't watch you
on
shower.
special occasions.
But does that make us? If we pair together as a doubles team, does that make our games better? At the end of the day, it's still a one-on-one game, right? So,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Maybe there is something to it. I don't know.
I think having styles be similar helps, because I think, you know, when you're talking
Yes,
about
agreed.
bag chemistry and all that, that's my only worry with Tanner and JT is you know, their styles are so completely opposite.
Yep.
You know,
I
but
agree
we'll
with you.
see. We'll see what happens.
Yep, I totally agree with you. All right, subjects that we wanted to hit today, we've hit pretty much all of them. I really wanted to get to the new partner reveals. The last thing that you texted me. Can I repeat this? Are we trying to keep the show?
No, I was trying to be funny. I had four that I thought made sense, and then my fifth one was just kind of a joke.
Yeah. So again, for those who maybe tune in out of the show, don't always hear this. So when we decided to kind of pivot away from having guests every week, and really more towards topic oriented, talking topics, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I said to Bernie, I said, throughout the week, if you think of something, funny, if you think of something you want to talk about, let me know. So Bernie is really good about texting me throughout the week, different things he wants to talk about. So last night I said, hey, don't forget, if there's anything else you want to hit this week, make sure you text me. So I got this long list from Bernie, a lot of them football related. And the last item on the list that Bernie wants to talk about, bitches and shit.
I thought when you read that you'd get a chuckle out of that, because the other ones were like, hey, these are real comments, like these are real things, and then all of a sudden I threw that in there to see if you'd laugh.
I did. So you don't have bitches and shit.
No.
You're just making sure I was listening.
Yeah, everything's good there. The and shit's all good right there.
Yeah, that's good. All right. So do you want to do on, off, and in? Can you want to do power rankings? Do you have your power rankings from last week?
I can go find them if you want to do yours. You do yours. I did mine last week. You do yours.
Don't leave me.
No. Yeah.
All right. So my final power rankings, I'll do this real quick, and then we'll wrap up with on, off, and in. If I remember right, I want to say our power rankings were similar, with the exception of two names that I added. Again, this is the final power rankings. I get it. I didn't play last week, but just two names that I added to mine that are different than yours. So, and again, this may seem. I think I'll get some buy-in from some people. Some people may question it, but here we go. Final power rankings of the season. Number 10, Gavin Cano. I know Gavin didn't get the big time wins that he wanted, but when you look back on the season and the number of TV appearances, the number of finals, the number of bracket championships, I mean, Gavin got it done. I mean, he really did. He played at an extremely high level. Does not have the championships that he wanted. I get it. The trophies to show for it, but I think he had an incredibly solid season. So I put Gavin Cano in at number 10. I think he is a player that's obviously debatable. I think falls in love with the block a little bit too much. But dude was really good this week. So I got Gavin Cano at number 10.
Yeah.
Number 9, and here's where I think we're pretty similar with a lot of ours. Number 9, Devin Harbaugh. Again, top 10 player without a doubt. Got to finish. Got to finish.
Got to find a way to win. He's got to find a way to win at some point. He's too talented not to. Right? He's too talented not to have some major wins on his resume.
Yep, correct. So Devin Harbaugh, number 9. Number 8, Fisher Hamilton. I think you had him right there in the 6, 7, 8 area.
A little higher, yeah. But yeah.
Number 7, this one may surprise you. I dropped him a little bit lower than you did. Number 7, I've got Justin Burton Jr. Great start to the season, and really had a good season. I mean, really did. But after that great start, I just want, and I think I said it to you a couple months ago, I needed to see something else from him. I wanted to see another big win. I wanted to see another national win, whether it's on the single side or the double side. But still,
I think,
again, don't get me wrong, great player, and I've got him
yeah,
at number 7.
I think he kind of, and I know they would debate me on this. I think they kind of ran out of gas a little bit.
Maybe.
I mean, that's kind of a grind, right? You start so fast, you start so fast. They were still great. They played really well throughout the year, but you get to the end of those tournaments, man, and all of a sudden you're playing these great players that are just talented as you are. And I think the grind caught up to them just a touch. And I could be wrong, but that's how I felt about them.
And is it like other sports too, Bernie, where all of a sudden they've got a target on their back?
100%.
Were they able to? We talk about this in other sports all the time. Were they able to sneak up on people? I don't know.
Yeah.
So Justin Burton Jr. And again, I love watching him play. I think I did a whole monologue about how much I love watching him play and how athletic he is. People are probably like, okay, dude, wow, man crush. So anyway, Justin Burton Jr. number 7, number 6, Caleb Batson. Don't even really need to say anything else about. I mean, again, would like to have seen him finish on the single side. And maybe I would have moved him up a little bit higher, but still, what a great season. What a great player. He was always there for the bracket finals.
Three bracket finals in a row. Three bracket finals in a row in nationals and the world. And the fact that he kept coming back, right? I mean, that would be kind of demoralizing for most kids and most people, but kept being there. His talent's just too good. Too good.
Yeah. And so young. Such a good player, and truly one of, in my opinion, one of the best looking bags out there in the sport, as far as
sure,
the
aesthetically pleasing to watch. Yes,
yeah, as far as technical aspects of his throw, incredible. Number 5, Alex Rawls. I do feel bad for Alex. We joked about this many times, so we don't need to do this again. But probably the best player, and probably the only time maybe in the history of this show and the history of cornhole where the number 2 player in the world will never be talked about by anybody.
I mean, think about it. You've got him at 5.
Really talked about it.
He earned number 2, and you've got him at 5.
I got him at 5. Well, that's because
he won. He won a national. He did the things that you want people to do, and you've got him at 5. That's a perfect Alex Rawls story right there.
And that's because consistently, I think these other 4 players can sneak past him. Wouldn't be easy, but I think these other 4 players on a consistent basis would be.
One of these is going to stir up some conversation, even though
here we go.
He's an amazing talent. He's an amazing talent.
Here we go. I mean, and I really don't think that this is. I mean, maybe this is controversial. I don't think so. Number 4, Jay Rubin. I mean, come on. Can anyone really argue? I get it. The rankings weren't there, but Jay played so well. And when you watch him play, and when he focuses on the game and can put his personal things aside, sure. I don't think I'm not sure there's anyone who can beat Jay Rubin. I might take him when Jay is at his best. I might just go to war with him. I mean, if you had a choice and we all got to pick one person, I'm not so sure. I love Jamie. And obviously we all love Mark too. And whatever. I don't want to start naming names. Going to get in trouble. But I'm not so sure I wouldn't pick Jay Rubin. So okay. I've got Jay.
I love Jay. His singles were not there, so that's kind of hard to put him in my opinion in the top 10. Singles weren't there. Doubles, unbelievable finish, right? They just won $90,000 in a month there at the end. But you have to take a whole season, and you have to take singles and doubles. And I just think in singles, I mean, he had some issues. I'm with you. An amazing talent. I think the game's better when he's around. So I'm really upset about some of the things I'm reading. I really hope that's not the case, but I think that's controversial at 4. And no offense to Jay. I think that's controversial.
When we get flooded when our inboxes get
no
flooded,
one watches. No one watches. So no one's even going to know about it.
No one's going to care. No one's going to care. No. Number 3, Jamie Graham. I don't think there's much to discuss on that. Incredible finish to the season. Love talking to him this week on ACL Live. Number 2, Tony Smith, and then number 1, which I believe was also your number 1, Mark Richards. And that's so tough because Tony just won again, right? I mean, you won out in Europe. I get it. The field is not as big as it is at a national, not even close, but still, it's my feelings on winning and learning how to win and still finishing. Sure. I don't care what level it's at.
Sure.
It's tough to win. It's tough to be a champion. And he did it again out in Europe. But Mark Richards, I mean, it's really almost 1 and 1A for me.
Yeah.
But I got Mark Richards at
I
number
think
one.
Tony, it's funny. I think Tony's more talented. I think if Tony Smith had Mark Richards' wherewithal as a person, his mindset, I don't think anyone could beat Tony Smith.
Maybe he will after they play together next year.
I mean, I really don't think anyone could touch him if he had that kind of mindset. It'd be crazy.
All right, just a couple minutes left. We gotta cruise real quick. If we're gonna
You do your on off and in, and I'll do mine next week. How about that? Because we've only got 3 minutes. That
That's
works.
good. You know what? I'll do each one of mine. You can comment on each one of mine, and then we'll wrap it up.
That.
All right. So my on is just football as a whole, and you know what? This one can be our together on the board. You and I talked about this during the summer. You know, there's something about the XFL. There's something about the AFL or whatever it was a few years ago that died. There's something about USFL that is just not appealing to us because I think in the back of our heads we know that it's just not at the highest level, right? Yeah. We know there's a higher level, and we're just not going to. It's like we're snobs now, right?
Even if you take it down to the college level, Jeff, are you watching the D2 games that might show up every now? Like, remember at the end of the year they'll always show like the D2 and D3 championship. No one's watching that. It's the highest level that they give you, and it's still not good enough for college football. I mean, it's strange. I mean, I'm with you though. I
think we're on the board with that. I think we all know what football is supposed to look like. We know what greatness is supposed to look like, and we don't want to watch something that's not greatness. And the ratings this year this past week for college football, I looked them up real quick, were huge. I mean, Florida State, it was a rout over LSU. Florida State looked terrific. Largest audience of week 1 on ABC Sunday night. With 9 million viewers. That's huge for a college football game.
That is huge.
Deion Sanders and his debut as coach of Colorado dominated Saturday with more than 7 million. And then what was the other big one? Oh, Michigan's win over ECU, the most streamed college football game in NBC sports history. So we know what greatness looks like, and that's what we want to see. So you and I both on the board on that. My off the board, and gosh, we don't have nearly enough time now to talk about this, but my off the board, Bernie the portal. You know, I wasn't really sure if going through the portal was going to make teams instantly successful.
Colorado.
Yeah, there's several examples. Again, we don't have time to get to all of them, but just a few. Colorado, USC, they've done it now for 2 years in a row. Florida State. Oh my gosh! Look at the transfer portal numbers for Florida State, and they are really good. Washington gets this Michael Penix, I think is his name, from Indiana.
Yeah,
you know, and look at that. I mean, so just a few. We got to keep moving, but so really, I'll call myself out on that. I'm off the board on that because I thought it was going to be difficult to bring all these players together and win at a high level. But
that's funny. That's funny. That was going to be my in the hole when I was thinking about it when you first asked me, because I knew it was going to. I mean, it would fundamentally change the game completely, and I thought the right smart coaches would do it in a good way. So
yes, yeah, and apparently so. And then we can, you know what? Let's table a couple of these for next week because there's a lot to chew on there. And finally, my in the hole, and this one we're really going to have to save for next week, and we'll talk more about this. I can't divulge a lot of this because a lot of it is sensitive and a lot of it still has yet to be determined for next year. But player identification in the sport of cornhole, I've been saying this basically since I first started. Player identification has to be number one. When you are watching a cornhole game, you need to know instantly who Jamie Graham is. You need to know instantly who Cheyenne Bubenheim is. You need to know instantly who Jay Rubin is, who Tony Smith is. You can't have guys in black, red, white jerseys throwing blue bags and the bar across the bottom is orange or yellow. No one can follow the sport when there's that much going on, because you're just assuming that someone's just tuning in. When we turn on the TV, we know who Jamie Graham is. When Jade Smith from Wichita, Kansas turns on the TV, he doesn't know who Mark Richards is. He doesn't know who Jay Rubin is. If we want the people at the highest level of our sport to be identified, we need to help the viewer so that if they're watching in a bar, so if they're watching at home, even with no sound, whatever, they know who these players are. So that's my in the hole, player identification, and that's going to be a point of emphasis for the league. A lot more to come on that. Through Trey and Stacy and y'all with the league, but that's my in the hole, and we'll talk about that a lot more next week. Whew, now I'm out of breath.
Nice work, man. You
Passionate
made it
about that.
Yeah, you're feeling that one.
50 minutes flew.
Didn't it?
Yeah. I want to get your thoughts on that. I want to get your thoughts on that next week. So we got a ton to talk about next week now.
Yeah, that's it. And I'll have my on, off, and in, and I'll change my in, because my in was going to be the transfer portal and how it's going to fundamentally change college football. But yeah, we're out of time.
All right, dude, we got to go. 5 seconds left. Hey, I miss you. It's been a week since I've seen you.
Miss you too, brother. I'll see you soon at some point. In a month.
Yep. All right, dude. Talk to you later. Thanks, everybody, for watching. See you.